Stevie, thank you so much for joining me on the Salon Owners Collective podcast. I'm really pleased to have you back.
Thank you very much for having me back.
Do you know, this is the 5th time we've hung out on the podcast, which is kind of exciting. That must be an all-time record.
5th, well, I mean, I'm not sure I have that much to say, but I'm very grateful.
I like the continuity of our conversations over a period of time, but I'm really keen just to have a conversation around, you know, the state of the industry. I feel like the drama of COVID is kind of starting to be behind us. It certainly is not over, but I do feel like we're well and truly in a new normal way of thinking, and people are starting to look forward now to the future. And one of the things I observe is that the way that we engage with our workforce is changing, has changed dramatically, and that's kind of the new, it's the new COVID, it's the new impact that we're dealing with, the way that we have to interact with our team members, and our team members have expectation over us. And I thought, who's the perfect person to have a conversation with us about? It's got to be Stevie. So let's start with this. What has your observation been of how things have changed over the last year? And just let's start with just locally in your own salon. What are the dynamics that have changed of recent?
First, I guess for anyone who, although I might have been on here 5 times, for anyone who doesn't know me, my name is Stevie. My surname is Corfine, but my business name and my pseudonym is Stevie English. I am a 3-time Australian Creative Colorist of the Year. I am a salon owner. I've had 2 salons, but now we went back to 1, and we talked about that previously. I have 16 staff, a fantastic wife who does the back end of our business. So I'm quite a good driver, but Mel absolutely navigates how our business works. So, and then I have 2 kids, 2 dogs. I might prefer my dogs, I'm not sure. That's obviously not true. But in terms of this new landscape in business, and I think that we at Stevie English Hair really concentrate on our team. So I think that we've always sort of said we want to be the preferred place to work. Our culture and how we spend time with our people, I think is why we have a really low, we've got a high staff retention. Our staff seem to stay for quite a long time. You know, and if anyone does go, we sort of clap them out, and we really try and, you know, and ex-staff members, you know, offer, if someone, you know, they say, can you go for an apprentice to come? They say you should go and work there. So we've got some very, we've been really fortunate in business, but I think in terms of COVID, but how our business works, I would say it's that culture that seems to be, it's a fun, hard-working place, but we understand that people, so I'm rambling slightly, but we understand that you're nothing without your people, right? And so in COVID, that hasn't changed. And if anything, we've spoken during COVID, but the time that we put into our people is actually what makes your business run, right?
Yeah, I agree, for sure. Yeah. Has the expectation of the team that you have currently, is that started to shift and change?
In terms of expectation, our expectations as business owners, we want, you know, they've got targets. I actually call them minimums, but you know, all that sort of stuff is there for them. That there's career progress. So you know, you started as an apprentice, and you go into then a young color tech, and if you go, your dashboards are green over a 3-month period, you can then go from a color tech to a stylist, and new talent, and a stylist, and a senior stylist, and a director. So we've got career progression. COVID and it's quite funny because I think in Australia we're ahead of you in New Zealand, but then the UK is even ahead of us, right? So like my friends back home in the UK basically said there's COVID's gone. It's obviously hasn't gone, but no one talks about it. It's thing. And even now, if you feel well, you can go to work. There's no longer, you don't have to isolate anymore. So if you're feeling well, so I guess it really has left here in Sydney, Australia, definitely.
Yeah, and I feel like what is left is we're managing it and have a new mindset around it. But the deeper impact now, or fundamental change, I over the weekend, here's an example, Stevie. Over the weekend, I spent the weekend in Taupo. My son had a 3-day soccer tournament, and so I did a lot of walking and walking around lots of groups of people. And I walked past a couple of guys chatting, and the piece of conversation that I got as I walked past is post-COVID, my perspective has completely changed. And I feel like that is, it's not about COVID anymore, it's about this new perspective and how that's now impacting our workforce and our team members and their expectations about how they want to run their life, or what they expect from work. And I feel like that's the new thing that we have to deal with now and readjust to, the Great Resignation and the change of people's perspective, I guess. Yeah,
I think that was sort of a phenomenon that happened in the UK and overseas, that Great Resignation thing. I think we were aware of it, so we tried to really engage with our team. People realized actually they quite like their families and they like spending time with their dog, but I think that the modern workforce, and this is definitely something that we try, is you have to try and keep your people happy. So if someone wants to work 4 days, right, you then have a 3-day weekend, you make it work. So if someone doesn't want to work Saturdays, if someone wants more holidays, I think that is what the modern the modern employer should be more flexible. You can't just be, you're a 9 to, you've got to work all the hours, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. I think you need to make it work for your people. If someone wants to be part-time and work 1 day a week, okay, that's how it's going to be, and I think flexibility in our business is really important for hairdressers now. And I think an old mindset was that I'm the boss, you have to just come in when I want. Whereas actually our mindset really is these people, we're here for them. And that's why they're so great, And I think that COVID probably has shifted a lot of people's thought process into that sort of, I can be a bit more flexible with my time. I can come to work a little bit later. Does that make sense?
I 100% agree. And I actually think it's a good thing for people to have choice that suits them, and that's a change of thinking. I think it's a positive thing for the workforce. I actually think it's a positive thing for us as business owners. We just have to change our expectations or choose to be flexible. And it puts a little bit more, puts the emphasis back on us it's a little bit like, do you know the game Tetris, Stevie? When all the shapes are falling down and you have to build the shapes. I feel like as business owners now we have to become great at Tetris in terms of the level of team numbers that we have and fitting them into the deliverable that we need to deliver the client and the client levels that we have. Does that analogy make sense to you?
I've always thought, so that's a great analogy, but I've always thought of it as a puzzle, right? Yes. And that your puzzles that you're moving around, and I guess the modern hairdresser, right? Because there's so much choice out there as well, right? So there's a lot, the environment's moving slightly, moving to that American model, that sort of suite type thing, and you can see it coming in more and more. So long ago, you don't have as many massive salons that have 30 people, and I think now we're quite a big salon with 16. Whereas, but I think a lot more people are coming in going, I want to be my own boss. I want to do these things. So if you are like us who employ everybody, you have to be able to keep your people happy by offering flexible work hours, good money, good dangling carrots for them to, you know, come and do that sort of stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
How
do you sorry, we've got a slight delay. How do you juggle the what I want versus what I can give, especially I guess for new up and coming and developing team members? You know, I want to work only 9 till 2, and I have no clientele type of scenario. Is that something that you encounter, or how do you ensure you don't encounter that?
Yeah, I haven't really encountered that. And I think that when I talk about culture and we talk about everything, we have meetings every week, we do one-on-ones, and I think that my job as a leader is actually just to lead. It's to sort of inspire. It's to, in our meetings, we always talk about, you know, what we're grateful for, because there's so much to be grateful for, right? And then we go through, and I try and sort of give some insight into what I'm doing in that week, or, you know, whether I'm with a product company testing color, whether I'm, you know, and where I guess I'm trying to sort of explain that the culture is so important, but also I have to be like game face on all the time, because as a boss, no one wants to hear that boss, you know, they don't want to hear a whinger, right? So you've got to be bright and shiny, and, you know, be their dad, be their, you know, the inspiration. And I'm sure a lot of my guys would say that I'm a twat, but you know, you know, our jobs as owners is to be there for them when they need. So, and in terms of, because we do all of the meetings and we do the one-on-ones, we set out career paths, you know, we don't have someone who just goes, I want to work 9 to 2. But if someone, we have had people recently going, he's a DJ at the night, and he goes, I just don't want to work Saturdays anymore because I'm DJing Friday night and Saturday night. So we go, okay, so you're now Monday to Friday. And we obviously, it took a bit of time to slowly move him off Saturdays. So, you know, you set your time, you set your parameters, and then now that's what he's doing. And I think really it's all about being nice, being flexible, and as a boss, just trying to be there for them, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I totally agree with you. And I think the challenge is to get to the point, or it takes time to set a culture and build a culture that's established like that, or that you even have a team that's big enough to manage when one person doesn't work on a Saturday. And that we need to be patient a little bit with taking our time to build the culture, to invest in the people, and to get to that stage when you can do that, right?
100%. And I've been in business for 15 years, right? My wife and I. And so we've definitely got better at a lot of this stuff. Like, you know, you don't become a great boss overnight, you know, and I'm not calling myself a great boss, but I think that, you know,
but you could.
We definitely did stuff and go, I'll leave that to someone else. But there was definitely things that we did. We go, I wouldn't do that again. Yeah, you go, you learn, you know, and often you don't learn from doing something really well. You learn from making a mistake, and you go, okay, that I won't do again. And so Mel and I can sit here 15 years in, running our business. It's a much tighter ship than it was back in the day, and our behaviors around people have got so much better because we understand our business as well. So so if anyone who's listening and they've just started, I think it does take time to get your culture right, and it does take time to And I think that I have learned from all the great bosses I've had, but I've also learned what not to do as well from some of those. And not because, I think it's that, I wouldn't talk about money, or I wouldn't do this, or I wouldn't do. So I think that, that's the reason we stand here at 15 years, is because we have taken our lessons, had our medicine, and here we are, still rocking and rolling and doing our hair game in Sydney.
Yeah, all right. I've got two quick things to connect on, because you said two really important things that I want to just kind of dig into a little bit. One is the dynamic of the two of you having front end and back end, and having real clarity around roles. I think that's pretty special for a couple to be able to work together and have that worked out, but you've got clearly defined roles. What, has that been part of sort of the positive dynamic to get you here, as having clarity around who's doing what and owning different parts of the business? What are the lessons from that?
Absolutely. It's the reason that we, I guess, have been successful. I think that if I was left to pay invoices, and it's not really, so I'm ADHD, left-handed dyslexic. Okay, so I can sit in, I was the nightmare kid at school. I get up, I shout. I'm one of those sort of very disruptive in a class. I literally can. I sometimes I even finish my sentences. My staff will tell you that. And then my brain goes off somewhere else. Whereas Mel is very detailed. She is really, really. I don't even know our logins into some of our banking stuff, right? So and I guess that shows you. But then I do the creative. So Mel absolutely runs our business amazingly, and pays all our people and everything. There's no stone unturned, and everything's above board, and there's all, as business has to be. And my defined role, I guess, is as a leader, is to be the shiny idiot that pushes us and does all the education. And I guess because I work for product companies as well, it gives that gives us another little bit of clout. And I run our team that way as well, because I also believe that everybody I hire someone, because that's the best bit, right? When you hire someone, everyone's happy, but firing someone's horrible, right? So I believe that I hire everybody in our company, because I know that if it doesn't work out, it's on me. And so, but yes, our defined roles make it easy. So Mel does all the ordering, yeah. She does all the paying the bills.
So there's something to be said about stuff. Yes, but there's something to be said about staying in your zone of genius, if you will, and recognizing one's strengths and weaknesses. And I wonder too, whether the lesson here is stay in the things that you're really good at and hire for the things that you're not, because not everybody has the luxury of having one, a partner that can join the business, and two, that has opposing skills to complement each other. I wonder if my husband and I work together, we might kill each other, and that would not be a good dynamic. So I know when I had my salon, we had a team of 30. I had people around me that were detail orientated and could do process, because I'm great at creating process. I'm really terrible at running the process. I just can't run something more than once or twice. It kills me. So rather than me trying to be good at process orientated tasks, I'll just hire somebody else to do it. Is that kind of the lesson here? Is that the takeaway? Stay in your best zone of genius.
I think that, and there are plenty of people out there that will be listening that have to do everything in their business, because that's how it works, right? I really believe in hiring the right people for the job. And I also think the use of my time. Right? So when we go back to COVID, we got 24 hours in a day. We learned that there was all this sort of time, but why use my time where I can do half of the highlights, right, and make money, and be happy seeing my people, rather than filling out forms or doing the sort of the nitty gritty. So I do really believe in surrounding yourself with people far better than me, and my team, I think, really are, and they make me look good, but really it's because they're so talented and cool. And Mel makes me look good because she does everything, all the I's and the T's, and I think that's so if you can hire all those things that you can't do, you absolutely should.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that's the kind of the genius moment, is it's not that it's your talent going and doing all of the things, but that you're smart enough to know to hire great people to go and do all of the things. Like, that is the magic, really.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it would be like, you know, you get me to come and cut your hair, but I'm a colorist, right? That makes no sense. So
yeah,
you know,
exactly.
you really get the people that can make you look good, right? How did so people can make you shine, right? Or you know, but then you can stay and do the things you want to do, right? And what you do best. Stay in your lane, hydrated. Off we go.
Yeah, agree. All right, one last little comment. You said to me, as the business owner, I need to show up game face on, and I'm on. What would, like, that's, I agree, it's the most perfect thing that you should do. That's hard to be on and to be game face all of the time. What would you say is like the one thing that you do to makes sure that you can be that person?
I guess it's having a good this is going to sound quite silly, but it's about having a really balanced life in terms of getting up to train, eating well, fruit and vegetables, drinking lots of water. And don't get me wrong, I drink plenty of booze and often very hungover. But I think that if you can kind of 5 days a week, get into the gym, have your walk your dogs, surf, whatever if you do yoga, you do all that. And I think that stuff actually makes me a better person, right? When I am actually training, my head, works to my head, and I think that makes it easier to whatever's coming at you, it's easier to take everything on, right? So part of my good habits would be that, in terms of try and get as much sleep as you can, drink lots of water, exercise, and laugh a lot. I think you got to try not to take anything too seriously. That would be probably my other one with my guys. Is I do really try and just have fun, because I spend more time with my stuff. So you might as well have fun, right, than you do often at home.
Yeah.
So
I love that. Yeah, no, I love that. I agree with that too. It's easier said than done. For me, I call it now. Yeah, I call it now white space. And for me, that's like making sure that I get away for the long weekends or have regular holidays, every school holidays. I take the time, because it's in those moments of either traveling or standing soccer side, or I don't know, when I'm walking, that's when I solve all of the problems. That's when all of the stuff comes together and there's white space for everything that's going on to land. And without that, you're just in the sea being swished around with the tide. So yeah, I love that. The health, the exercise, the water, and white space, and laughing. That's the magic.
Yeah, I think it is. Oh, sorry. I think it just makes you a better person if you're doing all those things, right?
Yeah, for sure.
You're a better dad. You're a better father, mother, husband. When you're looking after yourself, that means you can then look after your business, and you can look after your people, and you can look after
Yes.
So, it sounds so simple, but it actually, that sort of stuff really does work.
Yeah, no, I agree. And when your business is running well, that allows you then to be present and to do those other things. So they kind of go hand in hand, right? And then they both work beautifully.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
I think there's some magic in that. I want to recap a couple of really key points. Culture and career pathing will ultimately stand you stead in this new way of doing business. Oh no, let me reframe that. Flexibility, culture will stand you in good stead for managing and recruiting your team. Do the work that you love and outsource or recruit for the stuff that you don't, not your zone of genius, and then look after number one, because then you can look after your business. Was that a good summary of today's chat? Those are the key points.
Yeah, it sounds like very good. You know, did we actually say that? I'm never really sure what's going to come out of my mouth at any given time.
We said some profound things. There you go. That was the summary of the day. Stevie, it's always amazing to come and just kind of chew the fat. And I know that some of those key things are going to give some inspiration to you guys that are listening. So I really appreciate your time, and it's nice to catch up with you.
Oh, mate, it's always nice to catch up with you. So I think my AirPods just died. Can you hear me still?
Yes.
Oh,
yes,
yeah,
I can.
the computer.
Yeah. No, all good. The sound is fine.
Yeah, no, always. And I often, when I'm walking, like I was walking this morning, and I quite often have you in my ear listening to some of the other people on, and so it's good. I love a podcast, so it's nice to hear other people, and you can. I always think I get something off someone. There's always something I can relate to that, or I can do, which is good.
Yeah. And even sometimes if you've heard the things before, just being reminded brings you back to making that front and center. So I think we have done that for a few people today. Do you ever listen to your own podcast, Stevie?
I won't listen to my own, no, because I'd rather go to the dentist, I think.
For sure, exactly.
I'm not a massive fan of hearing my own voice either, even though I talk a lot, obviously. But I'm not going to listen to me.
Don't worry, I didn't listen to any of my things for about 2 or 3 years after even starting, so I totally get it. I can cope with it now, just as a needs must.
Yeah, right.
All right, hey, thanks for joining me on the podcast today, Stevie. I appreciate it.
The last thing I'm going to say is because I remember you always say, like, do you have a quote or something? And because we've done this before, and my new thing that I like at the minute is my life is written in pencil, and it's just one of those ones that I found it about a month ago, and it's just now I'm like, because it means I can rub it out and I can do anything I want. And I think that in business and so I was ready for you for that one, because I wanted to say your life is written in pencil, people. We can do whatever we want, our business can create anything we want.
I really, really love that. It feels super relevant, and that's kind of feels super freeing, right? I love that. That'll be one of my favorites, I think. Thanks for that. Now, since you were so ready, any book or any podcast or anybody that you're following new that we should get our hands on?
I read fantasy books, so you probably, and because I want to, sometimes I don't read business books or anything. I listen to business people. So I'm listening to the Diary of a CEO at the minute, the Stephen Bartlett, and I think that he has some very interesting guests on there, and so I listen to him a lot. But I'm a fanatic football fan, so I listen to lots of football podcasts as well. So it's probably not going to help any of you guys. So sorry, I'm a West Ham fan. So yeah,
we've been binging Wrexham on Netflix of recent. Have you cast your eye across that?
No, I haven't.
It's so great. You'll have to. It's fun. It's entertaining. It's nothing but soccer, and it's about sort of this tiny team in Wales who some big celebrities purchased and have just kind of turned it around. It's really cool. So there's one for you.
Yeah, I'll check it out.
Yes. All right. Thank you, Stevie. I really appreciate it. Nice to catch up.
Thank you so much. Take it easy, and I'll see you soon.